In the next few minutes, you'll learn the real reason why some seniors wake up confused, even when they seemed completely fine the night before. You'll see how memory loss after 60 can begin silently, during the first hour of the day. And most importantly, you'll discover what can be done every morning to protect brain health, delay cognitive decline, and reduce dementia signs before they take hold. But this story doesn't start with a diagnosis. It starts with a strange pattern that Carlos noticed in his mother. Every night she seemed sharp, clear, herself. But mornings were different. She'd forget where she placed her slippers. She'd ask about things they just talked about the day before. At first, he blamed sleep or stress. But the truth was deeper. Something was quietly shifting in her brain between 6 and 9 a.m. A subtle storm of cortisol, blood sugar drops, and hippocampus damage unfolding before breakfast. And the most dangerous part, it looked harmless. That's why you need to see this through. Because the signs of early Alzheimer's don't always appear in tests. They appear in routines, in silence, in small slips we call normal. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to watch for, and how to make 3 simple changes that could protect your loved one's memory starting tomorrow morning. The clock is ticking, and sometimes what happens before coffee is the most important clue your family has. The subtle morning shift no one talks about. Most people think memory loss comes like a storm. Loud, dramatic, impossible to miss. But the truth? It often begins in silence. A small pause at the kitchen counter. A moment of elderly confusion when reaching for the sugar. For Maria, mornings had always been her time of peace. But lately, something had shifted. She'd wake up feeling hazy, unsure of where she left her glasses, or worse, why she walked into the room in the first place. It wasn't just forgetfulness in elderly. It was something deeper, quieter. This subtle morning fog isn't random. It's a shift in brain health that many seniors experience but never talk about. A slight delay in thought, a soft disconnection between intention and action. Maria wasn't forgetting people's names yet, but she was losing track of the little things. And the danger. Those little things are the very fabric of independence. When a senior gets lost in their own home or hesitates to pour their own tea, it's not just aging. It might be the earliest whisper of how Alzheimer starts. What no one tells you is that these changes often appear only in the first hour after waking up. The timing isn't a coincidence. It's a clue. A silent alert the brain sends before the real symptoms take hold. That's why it matters to pay attention now. Because when mornings begin to slip, it could be the first domino in a much larger chain. And the next domino? It has everything to do with what's actually happening inside the brain right after someone opens their eyes. What happens in the brain right after waking up? When Maria opened her eyes each morning, something strange would happen. She was awake, but not quite alert. Her thoughts lagged. Her steps felt uncertain. That's because the brain doesn't fully boot up the moment we wake. In older adults, especially after 60, the hippocampus, our memory center, takes longer to activate. During this fragile transition, even simple tasks can feel like puzzles. This delay isn't random. It's a sign of early cognitive decline, and it's often masked by routine. Right after waking, the brain shifts from deep rest to high alert. It must regulate blood pressure, reorient spatial awareness, and bring back our memory systems online, all at once. In younger brains, this transition is smooth. But in seniors like Maria, this shift can be jagged. That's when elderly wandering can begin. That's when dementia signs are most subtle, but also most revealing. A moment of spatial disorientation. A blank stare at the mirror. A cup placed in the wrong cabinet. These aren't accidents, they're signals. And here's the real insight. These signals often disappear by mid-morning. That's why they're overlooked. By the time the coffee kicks in, the mind seems fine again. But Carlos noticed it. He saw that her brain was sharper by lunch, but foggy at sunrise. That gap between waking and full function is the key. Because what triggers this vulnerability? That's what we'll uncover next, and it has everything to do with cortisol, blood sugar, and how they quietly damage memory before breakfast even begins. The role of cortisol and blood sugar in elderly confusion. Every morning, Maria's body released a natural surge of cortisol, a hormone meant to help her wake up and face the day. But after 60, this cortisol spike doesn't work like it used to. Instead of bringing clarity, it often triggers confusion, especially when paired with low blood sugar. The brain, already vulnerable from aging, needs glucose to function. But if Maria skipped dinner, or her sleep was broken, her brain wakes up underpowered. That's when memory loss and elderly confusion quietly take root. Cortisol by itself isn't the villain. It's necessary. But when it floods an empty system like a brain running on fumes, it can do more harm than good. Imagine trying to start a car with no gas and the engine already worn. That's what happens inside a senior's brain every morning. Cortisol pushes the system into motion, but without proper fuel, the hippocampus struggles. That's where early Alzheimer's symptoms begin to whisper. Misplaced items, forgotten routines, or even a senior getting lost on the way to the bathroom. Carlos started noticing a pattern. If his mother had a light evening meal or didn't sleep well, her confusion was worse the next morning. It wasn't just about age, it was chemistry. Blood sugar imbalances and stress hormones working against her memory. These aren't rare cases. They're common aging brain symptoms. But here's the twist. They're also preventable. And it starts with understanding why this early morning storm is a warning. One that can lead straight into the most overlooked sign of dementia. Why morning disorientation may be a sign of early dementia. Maria had always been sharp. She remembered birthdays, favorite recipes, and even the neighbors' grandkids' names. But lately, something had shifted. Each morning, there was a window, brief, but unsettling, when her mind didn't quite connect. She'd mix up the cereal boxes or ask the same question twice. That's not just forgetfulness in elderly. It may be one of the earliest signs of dementia. And because it fades after a few hours, most families brush it off as just waking up slow. But the brain doesn't play games. When disorientation happens consistently in the mornings, it's often the hippocampus sending its first distress call. The part of the brain responsible for memory and spatial orientation. Yes, the same one linked to elderly wandering, struggles to reboot under stress, fatigue, or imbalance. This creates a fog. And while it might lift by lunchtime, that doesn't mean the damage isn't building. It's like seeing cracks in a wall and painting over them, instead of reinforcing the foundation. Carlos realized something the day his mother put the toaster in the fridge. It wasn't funny, it was frightening. Because that kind of spatial disorientation isn't random. It's a neurological clue. A sign that mental decline after 60 can begin in the quiet hours when no one's watching. That's why identifying these patterns early, before diagnosis, before irreversible loss, is essential. And the good news? There are simple, science-backed actions that can protect brain health and help seniors start their mornings with clarity. Simple morning fixes that can protect senior memory. It didn't take a prescription to help Maria, just a few small shifts in her morning. The first fix? A glass of water beside the bed. Hydration helps regulate blood flow to the brain, easing that early brain fog. Then came a protein-rich breakfast. Eggs, Greek yogurt, even a spoon of almond butter on toast. That stable blood sugar gave her hippocampus the fuel it needed. These simple habits helped reduce memory loss and elderly confusion, without medication or stress. Carlos also helped adjust her sleep-wake cycle. He placed a daylight lamp near her bed that turned on gradually at 6:30 a.m., mimicking the sun. This gentle cue helped regulate her cortisol naturally and reduced the abrupt spike that often caused senior memory decline. Combined with 10 minutes of stretching and 2 slow deep breaths before standing up, Maria's mental clarity improved. She wasn't just remembering better. She was moving with confidence, calm, and a new sense of safety. But the real shift came with consistency. These weren't magic tricks, they were routines. Predictable, protective, powerful. Maria's mornings became the anchor for her brain health. And with every steady step she took before 8 a.m., her cognitive decline seemed to stall. That's the power of action before symptoms become stories. And it's only when we look back, at the mornings we almost ignored, that we start to understand what was really happening every night. She stood in front of the fridge again this morning. Door open, milk in hand, but forgot why she came. Carlos watched in silence. He'd seen this moment before. And now, he finally understood it wasn't just forgetfulness. It was a signal. A warning shaped by years of broken sleep and missed signs. How many seniors are silently losing themselves one morning at a time, while everyone assumes they're just tired? Have you ever stopped to wonder what's missing from your own routine, or from your mother's? Could memory loss, confusion, or brain fog be more than just age? Because memory isn't just about facts. It's about the way your dad used to laugh at breakfast. The way your mom hums the same tune when she folds laundry. The way someone says your name and means it. What if protecting that doesn't start with a doctor, but with one small choice tomorrow morning? So now it's your turn. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. A daughter, a son, a caregiver. Subscribe to this channel. Not just for content but for clarity, for answers, for dignity. Because when the morning comes again, it's what you do in the first hour that could make the difference between fading and remembering.